So this is an absolutely wonderful, wonderful point that this individual has made and brought to my attention. It's definitely something that I've thought about. I've definitely mentioned it in my YouTube video about Mamon Serrate and Efuche. It's very important to keep in mind that everything that I said about the importance of pronunciations and speaking with a specific accent. Efuche, Nya Rosalia Gramosa abriu Efuche ochosi warikondo, samseo batala. Nya Inés Yenye Tolokun, Remigio Herrera, Changoa de China, Awo Modu, Obaramei, y Farola. Who else? Timotea Albayad, Changoa Jaileu, ¿cómo se dice? Teresita Ariosa, Enio Chun. And basically, Olugere, Adebi, everybody that I just named came straight from Yoruba land. Atanda, también. Filomena Garcia Atanda. They spoke pure Yoruba. So this is a wonderful, wonderful point because I'm talking about, Americans should work on their American accent and trying to lessen that and work on having a more authentic sound. Meanwhile, yes, the way that we speak today would have been Fuche, they would have, and Mamon Serrate would have been looking at us like we got two heads. It's very interesting to think because these people have been dead. But the founders have been dead for 130 years. Fuche died in like 1903. Latuan died in 1935. Mamon Serrate, 1905. And the list goes on. How amazing to think that even though we have the language as it is today, nobody's speaking Lukumi in conversation. But the founders, when Mamon Serrate was working with Adechina and Yaines Yenye Tolokun, they would have been speaking Yoruba. No? Perhaps, yes, they would have, they already knew Spanish. Adechina had been in Cuba since 1830 when he arrived. So by 1884, when his daughter, Josefa Echubi, was crowned, he would have mastered the language. But my point is, all of these individuals from the 1800s that came straight from Yoruba land, how amazing to think that they would have spoken pure, fluent Yoruba. So what are some of the differences? A very, very tiny difference that I'll give you is the word for man and woman. So the name for woman in Lukumi, in Anago, is Obini. Obini. The proper Yoruba way is, and this is no accent marks, I'm not an expert in Yoruba linguistics, is Obinrin. Obinrin, which literally means one who sways when walking. The inverse, Okuni, the Lukumi, Okuni. The proper Yoruba, Okunrin. But, Okunrin turned to Okuni, as opposed to Okunrin, which it could have been Okunrin, but it didn't flow in Cuba. So they said, well, drop the R, Okuni, as opposed to Okunrin, as proper Yoruba. Okuni means man, but Okunrin literally means one who walks stern or straight, does not sway the hips when walking, i.e. a man. That's just one tiny example, and it's really, really amazing to think. So yes, the irony of the video, the first one that I made, that ruffled feathers, is that everything that I'm saying can be applied to me. If the founders heard the way I sing and the way all of us Olorishas speak in ceremony and everything that's sung, it would not be recognizable to the founders. And I believe that is incredible to think about. It's a shame, in my opinion, that for some reason, pure Yoruba did not survive in Cuba. Everything has been Cubanized and Spanishized. I know it's not a word, but it doesn't exist. But the founders would have been speaking it amongst themselves in the cabildos in San Jose 80 and the various, Alaquiza, I believe it's called, the dirty rags, something like that. But they would have been speaking it amongst themselves. The only logical explanation I can think of is it was just dangerous to be speaking your native tongue. And I guess so many years, decades of being in a foreign land, you conform to the language in which you're going to be living in. So even though Adechina was the father of Echubi, I don't know. Maybe people who did know her could say, but I'm assuming that her Yoruba would have been very, very good. But just as the decades go by, the words start getting from Yoruba to more Cubanized, and Obinrin turns to Obini, Okunrin turns to Okuni, Ashe turns to Ache, Elegbara turns to Elegua, and it, so on and so forth. Oreyeyeo turns into Moriyeyeo, and it gets, I'm tentative to say, but it's the truth, it gets more watered down. So that's the irony. The whole video is me saying, you gotta learn the proper pronunciation, and if Ifuchi could hear me, she would say to me, son, I don't know what the hell you talk about. I don't know what the hell you thinking you're going to be telling people talk about how they're speaking in the wrong accent when ain't nobody speaking in the right accent except for the Nigerians. So that's the irony. Pretty crazy to think about, huh? But it's a wonderful, wonderful observation